Shalom, WJC family. This week we are reading Parshat Vayikra, and I'm actually recording this message just before Shabbat on Thursday. It is Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the beginning of the month of Nisan, so we're 2 weeks away from Passover. I know that's on a lot of our minds. And I want to talk about Seder today, but not the Passover Seder. I want to talk about the midah of Seder, the attribute of order, and how it is helpful to our souls and how it's helpful in this moment in particular. And I want to talk about that. I'm also going to talk about two other midot that I think are particularly helpful right now, if sometimes difficult to muster, so I'll try and help give some tips. And those are humility and trust and faith. So in Parshat Vayikra, and really this is the first portion of the entire book of Vayikra, we read about how the priests, the Kohanim, are to make sacrifices. And it's a very strictly ordered procedure. It's got to be done exactly right. And later rabbinic teachings in the Talmud, in places like Tractate Yoma, which is Yom Kippur, which have been learning for our Siyum of the Firstborn right before Passover starts, and other tractates of the Talmud that are dedicated specifically to holidays or sacrifices that were made on holidays, go into such explicit detail about what the ways in which these sacrifices have to be done in order to be effective. And the question is why? What about the order is so important? And the answer is, it's probably a lot of answers, but the answer I'd like to focus on today is that order itself is important. That by doing things according to order, we lend stability. In the case of Vayikra, to our relationship with God, an understanding that God is always there, an understanding that that relationship is ongoing all the time, and that relationship has parameters, and those parameters need to be honored with the order in which we do things. And that idea of order is so important, and I think it's so important in this moment right now. Right now, I think a lot of us feel like things are out of control. All the things that brought order and stability, or many of the things, it feels like all the things that brought order and stability to our lives have gone off the rails. But the truth is there's still some order to our lives, right? Most of us, I hope, are blessed to be in a home. And hopefully in that home there are other people with us. And if not, hopefully we're in close touch with our relatives and our friends on the phone or on Skype or FaceTime or Zoom or whatever technology you're using to make sure you get to see other people's faces and to interact with them. That order of our family and our community is the basis for the foundation for our own stability. And I want to encourage you in this time when we are in one place, that we can still make our own order. When you get up in the morning, if you have work to do, or set aside time for the work that you have to do, and get dressed in work clothes, and check in with your work people, and carve out the time for work. And then when work is over, change your clothes, change your demeanor, interact with the people in your house, or call a friend, and let recreation time be recreation time. Right? That is order that has nothing to do with the fact that we're in our house. That is order that has to do with the fact that we can control how we use time. Similarly, we're on top of our families all the time. Kids are doing their schoolwork. This is my situation, I should say. Kids are doing their schoolwork, and Tammy and I are each running around doing our things. My wife Tammy, and it's like a big amorphous blob of family time. Carve out some real family time. Make family game night. Right? Schedule activities for the evening. Tonight is family game night. Right? Tomorrow night is date night for me and my partner. We're on top of each other all the time. You start to take each other for granted. Make a special dinner for yourselves. Watch a movie. If you have kids, make dinner for the kids, and then send them out and have dinner, just the two of them. Let them go watch a movie and have a little grown-up time. I know, by the way, it is wonderful that we are having family dinner much more than we've had, probably most of us, every night and whatnot. And you are right to appreciate that and want to do that. But you know what? It doesn't have to be every night. It is equally important, maybe more important, that we have that special time set aside for our partner and our spouse to make sure that fundamental relationship in how we take care of our kids and how we take care of each other is maintained. So the idea is that we can set order, a seder of time, much like we learn in Parshat Vayikra, that there's a morning sacrifice and there's an afternoon sacrifice, and there's a sacrifice when we've committed a sin, and there's a sacrifice when we want to say thank you to God. So too we can and should in this moment, maybe more importantly than we've recognized before, embrace that order and create that order in time to give us that sense of stability and purpose. We cannot control the space in which we're in, but we can control the time and how we approach that space. So the midah of order, the midah of seder is very important right now. And while we're talking Musar, I just wanted to add a couple other midot that I think are very important right now. One is humility. We are all getting a great lesson, not great meaning good, but great meaning a huge lesson in humility right now. Anava, the attribute of recognizing our place in the universe. And it's hard because we live generally in a society that is all about us. And we have an illusion of control at all times. I control my destiny. I control what happens to me. If I just work hard enough, I'll be able to provide for my family, and so on and so forth. And this is a moment with this virus and with being trapped in our houses when we are being reminded that a lot of the control we sense in our lives, we can build those structures and take some control, but ultimately control is not ours. And the universe does not bend to our will. And that is a hard lesson. And some of our depression right now, some of our angst and our anxiety right now is because we suddenly have the spotlight on ourselves and we are recognizing that we are smaller than we thought we were. We are less in control than we thought we were. New, I would say even some of us, we were. And even if we told ourselves this all the time, that is not the same as getting hit over the head with the fact. So how do we cultivate that humility? When we recognize that the world was not created specifically for us, when we recognize that we have a small part to play in a much greater order of things, then we realize that even at this moment, and maybe especially at this moment, our job is to give to others. It's not to say, how can I get the most out of this? How am I going to be okay tomorrow or the next day or the next day? But what can I do to make this better for everyone? Because my place in the world was never really all about me. God did not create this world so that Jeff Arnowitz could be here to speak to you on YouTube. Our role in the world is to serve God and to serve God's creation. And right now, that is needed more than ever. How can I serve God and God's creation if I can't leave my house? So many ways. Make phone calls to people you care about. Make phone calls to your loved ones more than you used to. FaceTime them. Send them little gifts in the mail. Write a note, write a letter. God, in this day and age, to get a letter is such a beautiful thing. Write a letter. Practice safety and all that, whatever that means with the mail, but reach out to people. Make donations. There are people in massive crises. If you are in a position to make a donation, by the way, it doesn't have to be a huge thing. Send a little bit, a little something. $18 or $1.80 or whatever it is, but send it to an emergency fund for people who are out of work, for people who were day laborers, for people who had no access to health care. Right? As bad as you might feel stuck in your house, I guarantee you there are people who are worse off. I speak to some of them regularly. Help them. Call a doctor who you know and thank them for what they're doing. Recognize the burden that they are bearing on our behalf. Right? All of these things of looking outward when we are generous, another midah. When we express our humility through generosity, we take the spotlight off ourselves and face it outwards. all of a sudden, things don't seem as bad. And we realize that even now, even stuck in our houses, even in a world with a coronavirus, this novel coronavirus, we have a place, an important place for each other. And the last midah I wanted to highlight is the midah of trust or faith. Trust, bitachon, faith, emunah. It does not help that we are approaching all of this in a very trust-filled time. Oh, that's terrible language. Let's go back and let's fix that. In a time when trust is very hard for us. We are a skeptical society. We don't like to trust or rely on others. But now we have to. Now we have to get over that. We have to do what we are told is right. And we have to find it in our hearts to trust again. And I would say, this particular time, the reason I come to you with Torah, the reason I come to you with Musar, with these midot, these attributes to practice for our spiritual development and our spiritual stability, is because now is the time to trust in God, to trust in our tradition, to trust in our Torah. And maybe that's a lot of what Vayikra is about also. We bring our sacrifices to God in order to feel close to God. A korban is the Hebrew word for sacrifice, to be karov, to be close. Now is the time to give of ourselves in the name of God, in the name of God's creation, and to trust that God will be there for us, that others who serve God will also be there for God's creation, which includes us. And together, as a group, as a community, as a kihila of trust, we can and will get through this. I want you to know that I am here for you. Send me an email. Send me a Facebook message. Let's talk on the phone. I've been having extensive phone conversations with people. They help me just as much as they help those people. So you're not imposing. Reach out. We want to hear from you. Set that seder, set that order in your life. Find that anava and that generosity and that kindness for others to get out of this focus on ourselves in our houses. And have emunah, have bitachon, have faith and trust in your life. Now is the time to embrace those things. May we all do so and find on this Rosh Chodesh Nisan, this new month of Nisan, as we're thinking about our seders, recognize that we have control of the seder of our lives, of the order of our lives, where we can certainly take that control. And when we do, I think Passover will be less upsetting. We'll recognize our own activity and ability to make it something great. And I look forward to that journey with you. I look forward to continuing journeying with you, my kihila of trust and of faith, as we move through this difficult period. And we'll move through it together. And as such, it'll be a little easier. And maybe if we're lucky, a chance for our own spiritual growth and meaning to recognize the truly meaningful things in our life. Shabbat Shalom.